It's my favorite time of the month. We've got $50. Let's find some investments. First up here, talking about Stockholm, Antwerp, Paris. We're going to be starting off with Paris. You've seen it. I've seen it. We've all seen it. It's now below a 25-cent price point when we're talking about those teamed logo capsules. This is not a very good thing when we're talking long term because we can look at Antwerp and what happened there. There was definitely some impacts to be seen of the overinvestment opportunity that happened and it moves on to the next major. It's just not a good thing, especially if Paris succeeds. It's going to be a very big problem for Copenhagen or the next major to come out. In the short term here, though, I'm definitely not going to be investing into any of these because we don't know how far they're going to fall. I still like Paris as an overall investment, but I'm not going to be accumulating more because the truth is they have a very strong chance of continuing on this downward trend, especially if we don't see any brand new content or Copenhagen releasing and not being borderless. Now talking about Stockholm and Antwerp, it's going to be a much different story. These are going to be a lot safer of an investment. We're going to come back to them in a little bit, but I definitely think if you're looking for a borderless sticker and you want something that's going to be a much safer opportunity, this is exactly where you should be looking in my personal opinion. SkinSwap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with a free bonus for signing up with the first link in the description. They're the premier place for CSGO and Rust skins with a massive trading site and a top-of-the-line marketplace, offering you the most competitive rates out there and a massive 40% bonus when you're using that link in the description. Combine that with their top-of-the-line selling feature with many payout options and their trading feature legitimately taking you just about a minute, and there's no reason not to sign up with that first link in the description. Now for the events coming up, we've got a couple big ones. First up, we're going to be talking about Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year is only a couple of weeks away, and it got really interesting. That's because of the second upcoming event, which is Copenhagen. Now if you don't know, for Copenhagen, we've seen all of the teams that are qualifying for the RMRs, which you have to win to go ahead and make it to the Copenhagen tournament. One of the teams is Tai Lu. This is very interesting because whenever we're talking about the Chinese New Year, we're talking about Tai Lu, and Tai Lu is the #1 sticker that a lot of investors are looking at, thinking it's going to be pumped up by the Chinese New Year. Now if you didn't know, I was contacted over a year ago by someone that was trying to get me to pump up the Chinese New Year sticker of Tai Lu back then because they wanted to make a significant amount of profit. Honestly, you're not ahead. If you haven't bought Tai Lu stickers at this point, I don't think it's a good idea for me personally because you're going to go ahead and buying at these inflated prices. It's not a good idea, but nonetheless, we have Chinese New Year on the way that's going to probably not negatively impact the market. Some people are really unsure what's going to happen, but I will say I don't think it's going to negatively impact the market. And when we're talking about Copenhagen, there's definitely the stickers on the way, but we've got a little bit of time before we actually get to that major event, which is going to be very interesting to obviously see if it's borderless or not, as we've got a lot of repeating teams that could potentially make it. Now talking about the big one, which is probably on everyone's mind, is going to be cases. Obviously, cases have not been succeeding in the current moment. Now we just saw the yearly review come out, and the truth is this was actually very, very promising for investors. Only about 50% of the cases unboxed were active duty, and the other 40% are pure investment potential, the cases that are rare cases. But that being said, we're actually seeing a pretty much mass exodus of a lot of people who are investors into the scene right now. People are selling off their cases for no good reason, and therefore the prices are dropping down because we've also seen a decrease in the amount of people looking to unbox cases right now. My honest opinion, I think it's a absolutely perfect time to go ahead and invest into some cases you've been looking for. You've been waiting on the sidelines for them to go ahead and get a little bit cheaper. If we want to look at the unboxing numbers, these things are absolutely succeeding massively inside of this area, and I think a lot of people right now are very focused on the short term rather than the long-term potential that a lot of these cases have. We can look at the long term of these cases. They've grown 3, 4, 500% over the past year, and people are so focused on the fact that they're down potentially 20, 30% over the past month that they're looking to sell out of it. I think they're a really good area to go ahead and get into, not only the rare cases, but potentially looking at the active duty cases as well. Those are down extremely significantly, and I definitely think you should be very careful inside of this area, but it's starting to get to the point where there could be some investment potential here just because the cases are starting to get so cheap. Now, if you're looking to make an investment right now, there's a couple areas I would not look into. The first one's going to be souvenir packages. The truth about souvenir packages is they end up falling off quite significantly in the amount of demand they have after their respective major finishes. The truth is we can talk about the Dust 2 souvenir packages, one of the best souvenir package investments of the modern era, and yet it's still been outperformed by nearly every capsule from its respective major. Overall, souvenir packages just don't have the demand to overall upkeep compared to the amount of supply out there, and that lands them a spot on this list. The second one is going to be agents. The truth about agents is they're actually not that terrible of an investment during the normal period, but we get to the point now where they've been extremely inflated. Every agent that's come out from Riptide or Broken Fang has gone up potentially 500 to 1,000% since its release. Absolutely insane amount of growth, and that leaves it to be a very volatile investment because we could definitely see these prices go right back down. Right now, they've had no competition ever since Riptide went ahead and released almost 2.5 years ago, and therefore they've had a very strong trajectory in the short term here, but I would definitely be careful. If we see a new pack of agents released, they're definitely going to decrease in price in my personal opinion. And the last one's going to be stickers that have no borderless alternatives right now, but are potentially qualifying for Copenhagen. If Copenhagen comes out with a borderless sticker, therefore they're not going to have a no alternative solution anymore, and therefore they're going to be decreasing in price. We talked about it in the previous video, but we've got a lot of them like Imperial, Cloud9, and a couple other valuable ones as you can see on screen right now that have the potential to decrease. You're probably aware of a couple of them like Eternal Fire, Virtus Pro, but even some of the smaller ones like Fnatic that just came out with a Paris sticker that has no borderless alternatives right now. There's a lot of potential in this area that would pretty much be squashed if we see any of these teams go ahead and return for Copenhagen and it ends up being borderless. Obviously, a lot is resting on Copenhagen, but don't put your money in the faith of Copenhagen not being borderless because that would just be a not smart decision. Now we've run run into a little bit of a problem with this investing series, and that's the fact that right now, theoretically, we are down a little bit of money. This is for two different reasons. One, just because we're buying items straight off the market, we're not using anything to our advantage, and the second thing is mainly going to be the fact that the overall market is down right now. The truth is, you should not be selling just because your items are down, and that's a very good testament for this overall series. Just because we're down right now doesn't mean the investments we have picked up are not good investments and they're not going to appreciate in value, and that's very important to keep in mind, especially when the market, as volatile as it is going to be the only thing you're investing into mainly. Now, honestly, what should you be doing right now? In my personal opinion, it's probably not a bad idea to go ahead and double back down into the investments you've already made. As long as you're investing into items that have good fundamentals and are strong investments, it's probably not a bad idea because they're probably a bit cheaper right now. If we're talking about cases have gotten significantly cheaper from the price point you've probably bought them at if you bought them in the past 6 months. We're talking about capsules. There's a lot of capsules out there right now that are still extremely desirable and extremely cheap. There's a lot of great overall fundamental investments that have gotten significantly cheaper, and the first investment we're going to be making is into some filler skins. This is for a couple different reasons. First up, if we want to talk about an update, obviously I personally feel like we're due for an update. All the data supports that we should be getting a new case, a new operation, new maps, something. We should be getting something new relatively soon. When we talk about filler skins, those are going to be the one area that are going to be directly improving by the opportunity to have some more content into the game. I don't think it's a great idea to go ahead and bet on a new update coming into the game, but when we look at the filler skins, honestly, I don't know how much cheaper they can get. Obviously, the new drop system has introduced a lot of filler skins into the economy, but a lot of these skins overall, I don't think they can get much cheaper in my personal opinion. Another area I don't know how much cheaper it can get is going to be the active duty cases. We're going to be picking up one specifically, not all of them, and that's going to be the snakebite case. Right now, the snakebite case is on absolute fire when it comes to dropping in price. I mean, this thing has been dropping so quickly, it's absolutely insane. But the truth is, the snakebite case is actually not too bad of an investment if you can get it at the right price point for a couple different reasons. First up, if we want to talk about unboxing numbers, active duty cases make up 50% of the total unboxing. Valve wants to keep this number as high as possible because the rare cases are going to run out theoretically. When we're talking about the snakebite case, it's part of the active duty, but it's currently the least unboxed active duty case, making it a prime position to go ahead and get removed and added a new case in that's going to be a much more desirable one than the snakebite currently is. Our third investment is going to be into the Antwerp Challengers capsule. And honestly, I didn't even realize how cheap this has gotten. At a 56-cent price point, there's an absolutely massive amount of opportunity that lies within this. Specifically, it's going to come from Copenhagen and the Imperial Hollow. Right now, the Imperial Hollow is extremely expensive, comes from the Challengers capsule, and the Challengers capsule is currently the cheapest out of all three of the Antwerp capsules. Can't believe how cheap it's gotten, and the truth is, honestly, when we're talking about Antwerp, it's going to be a solid profit on the horizon as long as we continue to see it dominate its current market share, which honestly, I can't imagine it's going to lose because it's a very strong borderless alternative for the people that can't afford Stockholm or don't want the risky Paris. And finally, the last one's going to be the Danger Zone case. Honestly, I can't emphasize enough how strongly I think you should be investing into rare cases right now, especially if you don't have a ton of them. They're at a super optimal price point of only 65 to 70 cents for a decent amount of them. That's absolutely insane. That's as cheap as these cases have gotten in a very significant amount of time, and I think you're going to be wasting a massive opportunity if you're not taking advantage of this right now or in the near future if you really want rare cases. It's your decision at the end of the day, and always make sure you're investing into a case that you like the fundamentals of, which is the unboxing numbers and everything else. But that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.